Developing right now, a number of countries are updating their travel advisories to the U.S. following the Trump administration's ongoing immigration crackdown and a recent announcement the U.S. is considering an updated travel ban on 43 countries. Canada is now the latest country to update its U.S. travel guidelines, with foreign nationals being warned they could run into problems. Germany, Denmark, Finland, and the UK also issuing similar warnings, pointing to heightened scrutiny at the border, increased visa restrictions, and new federal guidelines that could potentially impact transgender and non-binary travelers. So I'd like to welcome in former Obama campaign foreign policy advisor and former State Department official David Tafuri. David, great to see you. My first question, are you surprised that countries are changing their travel advisories for the U.S., especially when I think most Americans consider this a safe place, especially when we compare it to so many other countries?
This is a little unusual. Normally, travel advisories are intended to warn travelers about dangers in certain countries, especially if the risk goes up because of crime or terrorism. In this case, that's not what is happening. These travel advisories just relate to the entry procedures to the United States. So they're not telling visitors not to go to the United States, but they're giving them ample warning that the mechanisms for coming to the United States have changed a little bit. They become stricter. It's certainly harder to get a visa. And when you arrive, and I have several friends and contacts who've arrived recently on visas, that you get more questions about why you're here in the United States, how long you intend to stay. There's probably a more significant vetting and background check, especially if you're stopped and there's a secondary procedure for the review of your visa and your entry. So that's what these countries are warning their citizens about when they come to the United States. In addition, of course, they're also warning that if you are transgender, you may also face some problems because of the change in U.S. policy with respect to persons having to either say that they are a male or female.
All right. So, David, we know context and nuance are everything, right? So Canada says it's changing its guidance due to our new immigration crackdown. But do you think that's all? Do you think this could also potentially be in response to the trade war and President Trump's newly announced tariffs?
It could be as well. Reporting suggests that Canadians are very upset about a number of different things that have happened since President Trump took office. One of those things is tariffs, as you mentioned. Those are going to hit Canadian companies very hard. It could hit employment in Canada, but it's probably also going to hit Americans pretty hard at first, at least. And it's notable that these tariffs are going to also result in higher prices in Canada and likely in the United States. So Canadians are upset about that. It's also apparent that Canadians are saying that they want to boycott American products. Some of them are boycotting American products. That's a trend in Canada that could also hurt us. And so some of those things are certainly impacting the relationship between the U.S. and Canada. And also notably, President Trump has said he would like for Canada to become part of the United States. That's something that most Canadians probably do not want. And in fact, this has also united Canadians in some ways against the United States. So this is unfortunate, but I do think we're going to get over this. Canada is a very strong, important ally. I do think people in the Trump administration recognize this. And after we get past this kind of rocky beginning, hopefully things will normalize.
All right. So, David, you are a former State Department official. A current State Department official has said any questions concerning these changes are a matter for those governments. What do you think about that response?
Well, it's appropriate if what the State Department official is saying that it's up to the foreign governments who've changed their travel advisory to explain what they mean. Those travel advisories should be very clear to their citizens about what is intended and how things have changed here in the U.S. Of course, if a country doesn't understand how things have changed, then it's their responsibility to talk to the U.S. Embassy and the officials in the U.S. Embassy in their country to get a better understanding. So what we want, of course, on both sides is for there to be clear understanding of what is involved when you apply for a visa and when then you come to the United States with that visa, and what your expectations should be when you arrive at the airport in the United States. We want that to be as smooth as possible. So the changes in the travel advisories are meant to intend that. And if they don't explain it properly, then it's up to the foreign countries to do a better job of explaining it. But of course, with the advice and counsel of the U.S. embassy officials in their country.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.